Welcome to Diabetic Dog Boot Camp. This module is about food and nutrition and very important topics in the life of your diabetic dog. After all, diabetes is a condition where nutrients aren't getting to the blood and there's too much sugar in the blood. So, what your dog eats is going to make a great deal of difference in how well your dog is and how he or she feels. The first set we're going to cover in this module are nutrition basics. What does a diabetic dog need? We're going to look at protein, fats, carbs, vitamins, and minerals, what those actually are, just to review. Why does a dog need them, and how a dog with diabetes is affected by the different foods in these groups? Let's start with the food pyramid. You've seen this many times growing up, and this basically gives you a kind of list of priorities of the types of food that we people should be eating and in what kinds of amounts that they're important to us. On the bottom are breads and grains, basically carbohydrates, and these are things that we should be getting a lot of in our diet, followed by fruits and vegetables. Above that are dairy and protein, which we should consume in smaller amounts than fruits and vegetables. And at the top of the pyramid, fats and oils. Well, there's a food pyramid for dogs too, only it goes the other way. It's inverted. We have at the top of their pyramid proteins, which should be the largest part of a dog's diet, ideally. Under that we have fats, which dogs do need in their diet, healthy dogs, when we will talk about that in more detail. Then water, which all dogs need and should have available every day. And then at the bottom of the pyramid, carbohydrates. And that can be a tricky subject. Why do dogs need this stuff? Well, a dog needs proteins to basically to build muscle mass, so they could strong, so their muscles are working, so they can run and jump and leap. But it also helps with even with the tissue in between their joints. So when they are running and jumping and leaping, those tendons and ligaments don't get overexerted. They recover quickly. And protein also helps with maintaining their hair, their coat, their nails, and it helps them heal from injury. Puppies definitely need it to grow. Fats are needed in a dog's diet. It helps keep their skin soft. It keeps their coats nice and shiny and glossy. It keeps their paw pads and their nose, nice and moist, flexible, which is important. When a dog's nose is dry, then that's an indication that there's something going on that's probably not too good with your dog. Fats are also very important because that's how vitamins get delivered throughout the body. They ride with those fat or lipids in the blood. And fats are also needed to provide energy later when those proteins and carbs get used up. Water, of course, is needed every day. It makes up 80% of your dog's body. It also makes up a majority of a human's body too, but any substance that makes up that much of your body, you better believe you need to be replenishing that every day. So always make sure your dog has fresh water. It also helps clean out all the waste in your dog's body too, all the bad stuff. So for a dog with diabetes, having fresh water available is just as important. And carbs. Carbs are the type of food that provide quick, instant energy. When it gets into the bloodstream, proteins and fats are digested slower and they kind of give like a slow, steady stream, but carbs give that energy right away, which sometimes is needed. So how much of these food groups should your dog be getting in their diet? You're going to get different responses depending on who you ask, whether you're looking in science journals like the National Academy of Sciences, you're talking to industry and industrial organizations like the American Feed Association, or different vets or vet organizations. In compiling those numbers, you're looking at proteins. They're recommended to be anywhere from 40 to 95% of your dog's diet. It's also going to vary between dogs and what the needs are. Puppies need more protein, pregnant dogs need more protein. Fats, the recommendations fall anywhere between 5 to 15% of your dog's diet. Water, your dog should be having between a half an ounce to an ounce per pound of their weight every day. And carbs, this gets controversial. The recommendation for carbs are anywhere from zero, no carbs at all in their diet, to 45%. Let's explore that a little bit. Do dogs need carbs? Again, carbs come from grain products. So anything growing, any grains that grow rye, wheat, corn, oats, and things that you can make into pastas or breads or rolls or sweet treats like cakes. These are all carbohydrates. Oh, and rice. Do dogs really need it? You don't see wolves, foxes, or wild dogs munching on corn or digging up potatoes. From time to time, you might hear of, a dog, even domestic ones, eating some grass or looting, certain vegetables in the garden. But for the most part, these these relatives of the dog and ancient dogs, they ate meat. And even if they were munching on grass, it didn't compare to the amount of meat that they were eating from the animals they kill. But dogs in the wild and domestic dogs, they're not actually carnivores, they're omnivores. That means they're not strict meat eaters. They can eat anything and their body can process anything: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. See, their teeth, digestive system, and even the behavior of dogs and wild dogs and wolves and foxes are optimized for eating meat. But the dog has evolved greatly, and it now has the ability to eat and process and get nutrients from things other than meat. And protein can come from things other than meat, such as corn, beans, and certain legumes. But of course, dogs prefer their protein to be animal based. Now, why would they eat these other things? Well, there are a couple of reasons. One, a dog in the wild is not necessarily going to catch dinner every day. There are going to be some days that are lean and thin for whatever reason. Too many other predators in the area, weather conditions, whatever. So, in those days that they didn't eat, first of all, the body would resort to the fat, look to the fat that's stored up in the body and use that for energy. But when that's starting to get depleted, a dog or a desperate animal is going to look to something else that's not nearly as satisfying, but will do the trick. The other thing is dogs have been evolving with humans, living with humans and evolving for thousands of years. And domesticated dogs didn't hunt in the wild, not really, or not nearly as much as they ate their owner's scraps. What do their owners eat? What do we eat? We as humans, we are also omnivores, although we are a little bit more varied with what we eat. So they were eating our scraps, which included meat, but it included breads and carbs, and included vegetables, it included fruits, it included fats, it included bones, whatever it is that we weren't eating. So dogs have always been eating a variety of things. Now, many scientific sources say dogs do not need carbs in their diet at all. But the fact of the matter is, dogs all over the world do eat carbs. Again, basically because they're with us and they eat what we give them. So we need to deal with that. Should you do away with carbs altogether? You can if you want. But there are a couple of things to know. Carbs aren't all bad for dogs. They are omnivores. They can process it. The problem lies with the quantity and the quality of the carbs. And one of the things that you really need to understand is most dog food on the shelf has some level of carbohydrates in it. The fillers, these are fillers that dog manufacturers add. Even those prescription dog foods that your vet may be prescribing, check it out. A lot of them have carbs too, listed as the first or second ingredient, as a matter of fact, which means that that ingredient is high on the list of quantity in the making of that particular food. 47% to 74% carbs in that food by industry estimates. So if you're not preparing foods or buying a dog food that is protein only, your dog is getting carbs in his or her diet. And Carbs are a big deal when you are managing diabetes. So let's see how carbs work in the blood.